I'm going to call this meeting to order. Let the record indicate that a quorum of board members is, I call the meeting to order on Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022 in the boardroom of the Administration Building, 1515 Cherry Brook, Pasadena, Texas at what time? 5:30 p.m. Board members present, Mr. Casey Phelan, Mr. Kenny Fernandez, Ms. Crystal Davila, Mr. Marshall Kendrick, and myself, Vicki Morgan. Board members absent at this time, Nelda Sullivan and Ms. Paola Gonzalez Fusilier. Let the record indicate that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting is duly called, and that notice of this meeting was posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The invocation tonight will be given by Mr. Kendrick and the pledges by Mr. Phelan. If you would stand, please.
Stay with me. Father, we're thankful this day. We're thankful for this district. We're thankful for a smooth transition into a new year. It seems like we just ended and always start again. We thank you for all the preparations that's been done to welcome our students back. We thank you for the hard work of everybody from top to bottom in this district to make that schedule as easy as possible. We thank you and appreciate and hope that you will give us a safe year, that you'll watch over our teachers and our church, our school family, and also our kids, all our students. Give them good choices and let our teachers and mentors be of great value to them as we go through the year, because they can make such a difference. We pray for Nelda. We pray that you will be with her, that she will heal faster and get herself out of the hospital and start back to her normal life. We ask that you would be with our country. We're in a very terrible situation, Father, that we seem to have lost our way. We just pray that you'd forgive us of our sins and those of our country, that you would bless us and forgive us. To be able to go through the meeting tonight, that we'd give us discernment, that we make all decisions that's for the betterment of this district. In your name I pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. The board is going to adjourn to closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.074 for the purpose of considering the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer employee, or to hear complaints or charges against a public officer or employee concerning matters related to the superintendent's recommendations to hire administrative personnel and or the superintendent's recommendations related to renewals, non-renewals, and terminations of contracts for professional personnel. 551.071, to consult with district's attorneys concerning matters on which the attorney's duty to the district under the Code of Professional Responsibility clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act, to seek the advice of its attorney about pending or contemplated litigation or a settlement offer, and or to consider legal advice regarding items specifically listed on the agenda. 551.072, for the purpose of discussing the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, will reconvene in open session at 7:00 p.m. We're going to reconvene in open session at 7:01 p.m. Mr. Kendrick should be in here in just a second. First item on the agenda is public discussion of the budget and proposed tax rate 2022-2023.
So I'm going to bring up our CFO, Mr. Poppy, to go over that information with you board members. As always, this is required at this time of year.
All right. Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Powell. It's been good to get to know Pasadena ISD last month. We're here to discuss the budget and the proposed tax rate and allow for any public comments pertaining to these items. State law requires an advertised public hearing, providing the public with the opportunity to discuss the proposed budget and tax rate. The advertised notice was published August 11th, 2022. The local M&O budget is $530,312,480. Enrollment did not go down that much. Food service budget is $42,133,225. And the debt service, which pays for all the bond payments, is $60,584,858. The total budget is $633,030,563. The proposed tax rate to support this budget is as follows. The M&O rate is 99.53 cents. And that is a decrease. The INS rate is 34 cents, and that is an increase due to the bond passing this past May. And the total tax rate is $1.3353. This is a net decrease of just over 4 cents. And this is a potential tax savings to the community and to the district. This is an overview of the proposed budget and the tax rate, and we'll go over more in depth on the agenda items that are later this evening. I'll turn it over to you, Madam Chair, and for any public comments.
Do we have any comments, public comments at this time on, or questions on the budget or the proposed tax rate? Thank you, Mr. Poppy. Hearing none, we're going to move to public comments according to policy BED local related to items on the open session portion of the agenda. We have a 30-minute allotment for this. This portion of public comment is for speakers who are addressing topics listed on tonight's agenda. We ask that all speakers refrain from using profane or vulgar language. Complaints about an individual student and or employee should seek resolution through the district's grievance process outlined in the applicable Pasadena ISD Board Policy DGBA, FNG, or GF. Along those lines, we ask that speakers respect the privacy rights of others, and in doing so, refrain from naming employees and or students during the public comment portion of the agenda. Titles may be used instead. Remember, this admonition goes for positive or negative comments. Each person will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and at this time...
They're at the end. So those are not related to the agenda,
Okay.
so we'll go to those later.
Okay,
But you've read
thank
that
you. Okay.
for the record. So the only public comments we have tonight will be at the end since they're not related to the agenda.
Thank you. So we will move to the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Mr. Phelan. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next is the personnel section, and Mr. Phelan, would you like to make a motion for this, please?
Madam President, I move we approve addendum item pages A through E.
Second.
Motion has been made by Mr. Phelan, seconded by Mr. Fernandez, that we approve addenda pages A through E. Is there any discussion? This is for administrative personnel. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Would you like to introduce these, Mr. Phelan?
I will. Miss Ashley Haynes, are you here? Miss Ashley Haynes has been approved for the position of counselor at Jessup Elementary. Do you have any family or friends or anybody with you you'd like to introduce?
My husband Corey and my daughter Jessie.
Great. Excellent. Welcome to the family. Miss Alicia Betros? Alicia? There you are. Alicia's been approved for a program specialist here in the district. Family, friends, anybody with you?
I do. This is my husband Charles. This is my daughter Abigail. This is my current supervisor, Miss Candy Weber, and this is another one of our specialists here. Mr. Keith. That's my first administrator here.
We won't hold that against you.
We all love Keith.
Excellent. Welcome to the family.
This is my best friend Tracy. She's also an administrator in the district, and we met at fun to interview in 6
Awesome. Welcome. Thank you. Miss Cheryl Kristen? There you are. Hello. Cheryl's been approved for a position of specialist in science. Family, friends with you?
There's a lot.
Go for it. We're all about it.
I'm Brian, and this is my daughter Blake. And then I have a lot of my Southeastern High School family here, and my CCS family in high school, and my new middle school family is also here. So I got a lot of people here to support me.
Awesome. Welcome to the family. Miss Irene Everett. Irene, there you are. Hello. Irene's been approved for a position of program specialist. Do you have family and friends you want to introduce?
I do. This is my husband, Captain Brandon Everett. I just wanted to say I'm so proud of him. He's a Houston fireman and took off to come and subscribe. My new team, who I've been back and forth to Pasadena because I love it just so much. So my former colleagues here now, my new team, Sarah Williams, Tammy Weber, Sarah Thompson, and then my new bosses in the back.
Excellent. Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And last but surely not least, Miss Diana LeBeau. Diane has been approved for instructional specialist. You want to introduce your family and friends?
Absolutely. My husband Don's here with me, our son Dayton, my mom, stepdad, and brother, and then my CTHS family is here as well. My district's family is here. My English teacher is here. And my campus CCS team, and a lot of friends and family that I love, and I'm happy to see.
Fantastic. Welcome to the family.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. I know several of you are here just to see your friends, your relatives named, and so you're welcome to stay for the entire board meeting, or at this time you may leave. So you do what you want to do.
Let's see, Mr. Poppy. Where's Ben?
They got rid of them, didn't it?
Is it up here, or are you going to hand it out? Is it for the budget amendment? Go ahead and hand it out. That way you don't have to... He's going to hand something out real quick. Okay. Update.
Yeah, that's fine. While people are clearing out, that's a good thing.
What's this about?
Well, he gave his flight suit to a theater artist class.
Good job. Thank you. Okay, I think things are quieting down, so we're going to move on. Consideration of possible approval of additional safety personnel and contracted police services for the 2022-2023 school year in the estimated amount of $808,000.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Phelan, seconded by Mr. Fernandez. Discussion?
So, board members, in light of the tragedy in Uvalde, we've spent this summer reassessing and evaluating our safety procedures. As you know, we have an awesome police department here in Pasadena ISD. We're very blessed with 32 officers and growing, because they're having a job fair this weekend. Just a shameless plug. In case you know anyone who wants to be an officer, we're looking for officers, crossing guards, and of course dispatchers. But this money is going to be used to contract other police agencies. I was going to have Chief make his way up to the front, and he's going to talk a little bit about the coverage that would be provided in addition to what they're providing. And then also some of this money is for those security monitors. I know we have sometimes called them parking lot monitors, but they would be placed at the intermediate and at Adobe 9 to help with making sure our buildings are secure. And Derek Beckett's here as well, our safety director and emergency management, and he would help place those folks at campuses in need. Perhaps there's a social media threat or some other concern that our community has, and he could move those people around as needed. But Chief, if you'll just talk for just a minute about how we're going to have police presence more than ever before.
Good afternoon, good evening. We are making ourselves present on every campus every day. Fortunately, this week the City of Pasadena has offered 16 to 22 officers a day to help cover some of the schools in the City of Pasadena, and that's been a tremendous help. The rest of our officers are covering the rest of the campuses, and starting next week, we will be hiring outside officers from other departments. We've reached out to Precinct 8, we've reached out to Pearland, we've reached out to HPD, Precinct 8, pretty much anybody that's available, we're looking for them if they're willing to come work. What we hope to do is put an officer in every intermediate school each day. It's going to be a tall order to fill right now, but that's what our goal is, and we're going to keep working on it until we find the people to do that. But we've really, part of our efforts, we're also using it as a recruiting drive where we're trying to steal some of these officers away from the other agencies and see if we can get them to come for work for us when they see how good it is here. I will tell you that since I've been chief, I'm not able to be in the schools as much as I used to be, but I really miss it. I've really enjoyed these last 2 weeks or the week and a half that we've been in school. It's been very refreshing to be back out on campuses, getting to talk to people, teachers, principals. Love seeing the little kids. It is so nice to go into the elementary school and everybody wants to wave and say hi, and it's a great feeling to be around. And again, I've always said that as a police officer, I'm very blessed to work here in this part of the nation, and it's a great school district. We're going to find more people to put out there. We have the job fair coming up on Saturday, so if anybody knows anybody that's interested in being a police officer, even if they're not certified or have not been to a police academy, we would love to talk to them. So we currently have 12 openings, and we hope for a good turnout on Saturday. We really appreciate Tony and her department's efforts that they've done to promote that job fair. And like I say, we're just, the whole department's out and about, making our presence be seen and visiting campuses, and really, like I say, it's very refreshing and we're having a good time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Thank you. First of all, I did see the police presence. I was really thankful for that, and the kids obviously feel safer. So since you're hiring from different agencies, how will we assess whether they're all receiving the same training or they've been trained to work with the local police department?
We are trying to hire people that we know, or at least from agencies that we are familiar with. We're very blessed in this area to know our neighbors, the surrounding community, the surrounding municipalities in the county, and we know their level of training, and we know the standards that those departments have. So we trust them and feel very comfortable there. The ones from, we have a friend of a friend that works for Waller that is interested, and we've been talking quite a bit with him. He's kind of new out of the academy, but we're trying to get a feel where he's at. He's one of the ones that we're actually trying to recruit to our own department right now, but that is a concern for us. We want to make sure that we're hiring quality people to be around our students and teachers. That's very important for us. We want to be sure that we're hiring people of integrity that are going to do what they need to do, and people that are going to treat people fairly no matter where they're at. So I've reached out to the principals and asked them that if they have any issues with any police officer on their campus to please call me right away so I can look into any issue that there may be, and I can either address it or go back to the principal and explain to them, here's what was happening and why it was happening. So I will tell you that quality control is very important to me, and I'm not going to let strangers come into our department without being supervised and not keeping track of things. But like I say, our surrounding agencies are great, very confident in their training and their supervisors and their leadership that they have, so we feel very comfortable with them, but we're going to keep an eye on everybody.
Yeah, my concern was mainly focused on the training that you did with Pasadena Police. I was just interested to hear if that was also continuing for those officers that are going to be hired on?
It's really going to be hit or miss.
Okay.
But our department does do the SRO training. We've done alert training with Pasadena PD, so there's a lot of efforts. In fact, we're helping our friends in Deer Park get those officers SRO trained.
We are. We're one of the few agencies around that is qualified to teach the mandatory class that officers have to have. They have to have it within 6 months of coming to work for a school district. So,
Thank you for everything.
thank you. Yes,
So
sir.
my question is, what is the qualifications for these monitors, these 11 monitors that we're looking at?
So it's the same as our parking lot monitors, and so it's a high school diploma. Derek would, of course, lead out on some training regarding the audits. I've talked to y'all a little bit about this Texas new rules about the safety audits and the doors. So I don't know if you want to say anything in addition to that, but they're really visible on campus to make sure people are not coming from the outside in when they shouldn't be.
And are they going to be under the chief, or what?
They're going to be working with Derek Bucket and the campus principal.
So, good evening. Mainly the big difference is they're not law enforcement, right? So they're just an extra set of hands and eyes on the campus to help with situational awareness for the principal and the staff there. So they're going to spend a lot of their time in the hallways, and they're going to spend a lot of time walking around the outside of the building. So the state required that we do weekly checks of all of our exterior doors. They're going to insist with that. Like she mentioned, we may pull them when we do our random metal detector drills at some of our campuses to come and assist with that. So all depends on what's going on that day, but 99% of the time, they're going to be just an extra set of eyes for that principal that is solely focused on safety issues on the campus.
Marshall.
Derek, how far are these people vetted as far as dealing with children, with their background, criminal or whatever you might have?
So
How deep do you go?
with all of our employees that work around children, they're going to go through the full background investigation like every other employee in the district. So there'll be, sex offender check, background, full check. So we won't allow them around any of our staff or children if they're not able to pass that, for sure.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just want some clarification. So is this to fill positions that we're currently looking for? Are we hiring an outside agency in order to not hire within the district? Or what's the purpose of getting an outside agency?
That's more of a Stewart question.
I was saying yes, but the police?
No, police.
Okay.
Well, we currently have 12 openings. 7 of those positions were given to this department by the board in about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look again, but we have had a hard time finding qualified applicants. As you know from the news and from media, you see that there are a lot of things that are negative against police officers right now. There are a lot of people that thought they wanted to be police, and I know one of the people that we've hired that works for our department, the Monday after the Dallas police shooting, half his class, that was 30 people, quit coming to class that day because of that shooting that occurred and those officers that were murdered that night. So there's not a lot of people, there's not a big pool for police in the whole community. And after Uvalde, there's huge demands demanding more police. So we're kind of at a crossroads right now. But there's still a lot of good people out there. And because of that shortage, we started hiring people that were not certified, same background checks, same background as a police officer, and we've sent them to police academies so that they could come back to us as an officer if they agreed to spend at least 3 years working for the department. So our ultimate goal is to hire our own people and have our own department and hold our own standards. But right now, we're doing everything we can to provide protection and safety for everybody. So that's why we're having to reach out to the outside people and outside agencies.
Are you having any luck or any contact from other states that they're not supporting their police departments, like in the blue states, that they don't want the police to do anything? They won't support them at all. A lot of these people are quitting their jobs. And who could blame them? Any of them coming into Texas?
Yes. Yes, there are people from north that are moving south, and we're happy to have them. Unfortunately, our recruiting efforts haven't reached out that far. Some of the other school districts I've talked to, a few of them have given me secrets that they go to El Paso, Abilene, to a few other places that they go there. They do a 3-day recruiting stint. They don't it's an advancement to their salary to help them move. And again, they sign a contract saying that they promised to work for so many years back. We have not reached that point yet, but everything's on the table, and we're at the point where we're willing to do whatever we can to get good people to come work for us.
Absolutely.
I'll be honest, there are a lot of people that are willing to come work for us, but good people that we trust and good qualified candidates, that's where the problem
I
is.
understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
The one thing that I would like to say is thank you to the City of Pasadena Police Department for assisting us this last 2 weeks. We have a great relationship with the City of Pasadena, and I'm proud of the relationship that's developed. I'm proud of the fact that they have offered their officers for the last couple of weeks, and so we need to say thank you.
And a city councilman.
Oh, yes,
Sorry about that.
Schoenbein. Yes, thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Then let's act on the motion, and the motion is, we're going to go back. The motion was made by Mr. Phelan, seconded by Mr. Fernandez, to approve additional safety personnel and contracted police services for 2022-2023, estimated amount $808,000. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Again, thank you, and please tell your constituents in the city how much we appreciate them. Consideration and possible approval of changes to the medical package for plan year 2023.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Kendrick, seconded by Mr. Fernandez. Any discussion?
So employees will be excited if this passes that premiums will not increase, but as you can see there about Plan 2, we're looking at the cost of that plan and just how to restructure that for future years.
Okay, any questions?
I do.
Okay.
I just wanted some clarification on whether other options were explored, and I know that, or I was told that Gallagher is here.
What?
I didn't understand.
Yes, so this is Maggie Parker, and she is our consultant with Gallagher, our insurance benefits consultant group. And so, yes, we did explore avenues last year. Of course, we added that Kelsey plan. That is a more affordable plan for our employees, and we wanted to give that a year to see how it rolled out and functioned to make sure that it was a viable plan for employees, and we have over 1,000 employees that have moved to that plan.
Okay.
So that was one of our options that we did explore. We also, we always have to look at a TRS active care. That's something that has to be in the back of our mind. I know that that's not very popular to even explore, but that's something that we do have to have in the back of our mind because we want to make sure that our employees get the best insurance product they can get, and then it also be cost effective for the district.
Okay. So I asked earlier, so I just want to clarify that so you're saying those were explored last year before the elimination, I guess, of this plan or grandfathering of Plan 2? Okay. How many people would be affected by this? Or, obviously they're being grandfathered, so they can stay for as long as they have employment here? Correct. Yes. Okay, so that's not going to go away at all for those that are already under this plan?
So when we talked with the insurance committee, we didn't put a limit on how many years we were going to grandfather that. We want to see what the impact it has this year. And then if it's still having a large impact on our health fund, then we would maybe go back to the insurance committee and say, how long do we want to grandfather these people? But if this year we just want to do the grandfathering, and then we have made the commitment that if we make the decision to go away from the plan, that we give people ample time to find other doctors and other avenues. And so we kind of were thinking in our minds that's at least a 2-year period, and maybe up to 5 years if we decide to do away with the plan.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question now that you raised that. My question is, if you grandfather it, and it's a very big burden for the district, and we're district funded, then why don't you just set a time that it doesn't exist anymore?
So when we met with the committee, they did want to make sure that people had time to find other doctors, and sometimes that's not a quick process for some people. They may have a specialist, or they may have someone that they've been working with you for years, and so they wanted to be able to give people that time to find other doctors.
5 years.
We didn't vote on a time frame. We just said grandfathered for this year, and then we would revisit it to see how it impacts us in the future. Maybe this year, maybe it won't impact us as much. Our fingers are crossed. But we would go back and look at it at a later time to see if next year we need to say, okay, our time limit's going to be 3 years, or our time limit's going to be 5 years.
And I think in the past, we've been looking at our insurance plans annually anyway, so this is not something new.
Correct. Gallagher, I think it's twice a year, they give us a monthly report of how our plans are running, and I can tell you Plan 2 runs more than double what any of our other plans run, and even with raising the premiums on that plan, it still hits our insurance, our self-funded insurance pretty hard.
And Dr. Lopez, did you say how many people are on this plan?
Plan 2, we have about a little over 500 employees, and I think with dependents, that is around 900.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Certified personnel and support personnel are for information only. So we're going to move to the educational section. Texas Reading Academies 2022 Spotlight.
So board members, we're going to have a presentation by Brandy Johnson. So she's headed up here to share some great information and great work that's gone on related to the Texas Reading Academies. You do have a handout in front of you.
Yeah.
Good evening. Good evening, community. So I'll just start. I think it's gonna pop up there in just a second, but I'll just start by setting the stage. We, for those of you that may not be aware, several years ago, House Bill 3 mandated that K through 3 teachers go through a Texas Reading Academies that really focused on the science of teaching reading. And so we are moving into year 3 of implementation. In year 1, we had a small cohort of administrators and campus coaches that went through it. And then this past year is when we took the majority of the district through this. And we opted in to bring our pre-K and our 4th grade teachers into it as well, to create more flexibility on elementary campuses if we have to move campus personnel around. And so I'm just here to talk a little bit about last year's. We'll start with some celebrations. So some of the ways that we were able to accomplish this, we started with 1,504 pre-K through 4th grade teachers, coaches, administrators, asset teachers, homebound teachers enrolled in it last year, and we had 1,476 complete, so that was a 98% completion rate. We had 28 participants that, due to extenuating circumstances and other just issues, we rolled them over to participation for this year. And just some of the ways as a district that we were able to accomplish that I just wanted to call out very quickly is, number one, we have an amazing district that diverted professional development for a full year to make sure that teachers had uninterrupted work time throughout the year to do this. And that was really fundamental because some districts were asking teachers to do it without giving them time. And so our district did a wonderful job of setting aside that time for teachers, and they were able to do that. From our executive directors, really making sure that we were able to provide that PD in other ways and filtering that down through our specialists. I want to give really special credit to my team, to Bernadette Booker, Ashley Pavlok, Mary Ellie Garza, and Elizabeth Garcilazo. They were our internal cohort leaders, along with me last year, that led our whole elementary school system through this process last year. And this could not have been done without their benefit. Thank you. Some of the other ways that we were really able to accomplish this is then we get to the campus level, and you guys can see we had a pretty big Twitter presence last year, and we're trying to continue it this year. They integrated this into the PLC process, so it wasn't just something that they had to sit and do. Campuses really took this learning and found ways to embed it in the PLC process, to integrate it into faculty meetings, to provide resources to their teachers as they needed, just to meet the needs of our teachers throughout this entire process. And you can see that we also found fun ways to celebrate, from graduation ceremonies at the end of the year for all of the campus that graduated. We got T-shirts for all participants that were delivered to them individually as they finished throughout the school last year. Jeans passes, we know how popular those are. And ultimately for me, and I think for everyone, this is really where the magic started to happen last year, is it started to filter out into the classrooms with our students. So you can see that teachers were implementing the learning that they were going through and experiencing throughout the year with students across our district. And here's some more, and we'll continue to see that work. And ultimately, we can attribute, we think, some of the growth that we had here when we look at even from our pre-COVID to now in our 3rd and 4th grade STAR reading scores. We saw a tremendous growth, and so we're really excited about that, and we can attribute some of that to some of the new learning and the continued learning that teachers were able to do as well. And then just some of our key takeaways is our whole school system now at elementary just has a deeper understanding of the components that are necessary to support and develop skilled reading and writing. Participants, like I said, were connecting to that PLC process, which was so powerful. And over the summer, the specialists were working to realign curriculum and make sure that we're in line with all of the learning that was experienced last year. So it wasn't just a checkbox. We were really taking that learning and internalizing and processing it and applying it. And then just quickly looking ahead, we have a little bit higher than anticipated current enrollment. I think everybody probably understands why that is in education right now. We lost some teachers. So we're a little bit higher, but we're taking through about 232 right now. Those numbers change just slightly every day. And we're looking to continue to provide some of those additional supports that we did last year and support them as much as we did. Again, an awesome district who we can't divert professional development this year, so we're getting substitutes for these teachers and providing time for uninterrupted work time and support for them as well. So thank you to the board and to the district for all of that additional support. I think it will allow us to hit 100% of all of our participants completing this year as well.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your hard work. Next is the Summer School 2022 Spotlight. Becky, are you going to do that for us?
I would like to.
Okay.
We would like for you to.
I agree. I'm going to am I closing this one, or are you doing that? Okay.
It's coming over.
All right. Good evening, board members and Dr. Powell. It's so nice to be here to represent our department and tell you some good things that happened in our school district this summer. Thank you for your strong commitment to the extended year program year after year. I believe it's probably one of the largest and certainly the best in the area, maybe the state, maybe the country. I'm Becky Barron, one of the executive directors, here to represent my colleagues in presentation of this information. So as soon as the elementary slide is up there, I'll tell you a little bit of information. You have a copy of it right there, right? So I just want the rest of the group to be able to see how we're bragging about our kids.
Somebody hit the magic button.
Okay, in elementary, It'll catch up. It'll catch up. All right. Elementary school programs were headed by Miss Lindsay Lesniewski and served 4,467 elementary students during 4 weeks at 11 campuses. 3,945 students received remediation, tutorials, science camp. The bilingual pre-K and K program served an additional 264 kids. 258 students benefited from enrichment opportunities in GT camp. All in all, elementary students completed over 230,000 hours of instruction this summer. Wow. Almost 33,000 of those counted toward the House Bill 4545 requirement for accelerated instruction, and that will help us during the school year. In middle school, Middle school was led by Dr. Marsha Jones and her team. They served 3,507 students in 3 weeks at 5 campuses. They offered math, a combo reading social studies, and science camps based on student need. In addition, they provided accelerated instruction, advanced instruction in mathematics to students who were demonstrating like mastery in their math class and could advance some. So they worked on that with the kids, and as you can see, but you can't see on the, they can see on the paper, but middle school students completed 129,000 hours of instruction this summer, 97,000 of which counted toward accelerated instruction required by House Bill 4545. Middle school was a big growth area this year. In intermediate programs were led by Mr. Dan Hoppy, and they remediated 3,975 students over 3 weeks, and that prevented retention in those grades. Students attended reading, math, science, and social studies camps based on their individual needs, just like middle school did. Along with the middle school, intermediate also provided advanced instruction in mathematics to students who were showing promise in mathematics so that they could move forward. There were about 200 of those. That's a good number. We're going to have to get ready for those in high school. Intermediate students completed 121,000 hours of instruction this summer, and almost 75,000 of those counted toward House Bill 4545.
That's awesome.
CTE did the same thing they've done in the past and offered wonderful camps for our students. This program is led by Ms. Tanya Hager and her team. These were 3rd through 8th grade opportunities for students to participate in camps that allows them exposure to career pathways that we offer training for in our district. They ran 1 career camp, 6 robotics camps, that one's popular, and 2 rocketry camps. 300 students attended those camps this summer. I had the pleasure of leading the high school program again this summer along with a really great team. We had robust offerings of initial credit courses, both traditional and virtual. This helps students that want to stay in their extracurricular and career path classes in high school because it frees up some spots in their schedule so they can do extra stuff. 2,937 students participated in high school summer school programs. They earned 2,559 half credits of initial instruction, 779 of which were earned remotely through Pasadena Virtual School. 1,344 half credits were recovered by students who failed a class and therefore are able to stay on track when they're in school this year. Almost 80,000 hours of accelerated instruction was provided toward this year's House Bill 4545 requirements, and 77 seniors graduated earlier this month because of summer school. So some of you were able to be there. It's a really big deal, so thank you for that. The extended school year services, or ESYS we called it, are special education services provided to students with disabilities to combat regression during the summer or to help them recoup some skills to help the school year go well. This program was led by Ms. Townsley Tabianpour and her people, and it was done in accordance with IEPs and no cost to the student or their family. Many of the students who attended ESYS are in our specialized self-contained programs during the school year. They served 115 students this summer. This next slide is a bonus slide this year. So if you look across the bottom, you'll see that this is data over time from 2016, well before COVID, to now. This shows completion data for Pasadena Virtual School. So the total, or the height of the bar, represents enrollment. Green represents completion. Yellow represents students who, at some point from the first day or sometime during the summer session, decided to drop a class. And the red band represents the students who completed a course but didn't pass. So what we want to emphasize here is how much better students are doing as virtual learners. Of the 1,045 PVS Pasadena Virtual School course enrollments this summer, only 87 were dropped and 29 failed. So this means our students are successful virtual learners at a rate of 89%. The silver lining, if there are any, to COVID, and then also as one of the outcomes of our one-to-one technology program, this shows that our students are doing a good job now learning virtually, which is a huge benefit to them as they move to post-secondary education, where virtual learning is pretty much a given. College kids have to take virtual classes. So we're proud of that fact, and we wanted to share it with you because it definitely shows in the data.
Becky, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
The 2020 school year, was that the large enrollment due to COVID?
Yes, we call it COVID-19 because it started right before the end of 2019, but it really impacted us that spring of 2020. And that summer, that big old tall line, that's because we had no choice but virtual, right? Everybody went to virtual. It still did really well.
Absolutely.
But it returned to normal levels of enrollment after that, and then this year too, because kids still had a face-to-face option, and that's the appropriate choice in most cases. We want to teach a face-to-face science class. We want to teach a face-to-face, there's things, right?
Absolutely.
A face-to-face PE class makes more sense than maybe one where you do it virtually. So we had to have that 2020 year, so you see that blip in the data.
Yeah.
But I think that's when our kids really learned how to learn virtually.
I think so too.
Yeah, so it's a good outcome from a bad situation. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. All right, here's a longitudinal summer school participation slide. This shows all the levels. Elementary is blue, red is middle school, intermediate's yellow, high school is green, and then little top, it also looks red, but it's orange, is ESYS, and blue is CTE. So you can see from 2019, which is the summer before COVID, through 2020, 2021, and 2022, how much participation we had in summer school. So this year, because of House Bill 4545 requirements, we invited more students to summer school than we have ever seen before. And so we ended up serving many, many more students this summer, over 15,000 total. Thank you for supporting us to do that. The next slide is just an opportunity to clap for the leaders of these programs. For those that are able to be here tonight, we'd like them to stand. They helped serve 15,000 students this summer, and they worked hard.
You all are rock stars. You've made a difference in the lives of kids, and we're very grateful.
Summer school's hard work. You have to turn it around quickly, and you have to do a good job, and then before you know it, it's time to put it down on paper and make records and slides for a presentation for the board. So it's a whirlwind, and they work super, super hard and deserve every bit of the credit. This concludes our report. Unless you have questions, thank you so much for supporting our extended year program, and it has been a pleasure to bring to you the successes from our school summer this year. Our kids did really well.
Awesome report. Does anybody have any questions or?
Beautiful report.
Thank
Great
you.
Success.
Everybody made the report. I just get to say it.
A lot of dedication. We appreciate you very much.
You're welcome.
I do have a comment. It looks like when we look at the number of students who did fail the virtual school, it did decrease. So you're right, students are getting better at virtual learning. But I would just make a comment based on my experience with teaching. I know that students also got better with cheating because of, the electronics that they now have, like cell phones, computers, and all of that.
Give me a call. I would love to show you how the Pasadena virtual school courses work versus some of the other things that we had to use during COVID. Because you're right, the kids learn to game it. I mean, that's just human nature. But the Pasadena virtual classes are built for projects, and it's not easy to do that. There's not just a test with answers. They have to actually do things. But I'd be happy to show you some of those courses. Just give me a call. And you'll feel good about it because the kids really have to learn.
Well, and I think that based off of the 2020, to me it shows that while the kids are resilient, the teachers had to adapt to that, and they're not as resilient as these kids are. So this is a testament to the students, one, but the teachers.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Our STAR scores show, that our kids managed to move forward despite all of the exhaustion and emotional turmoil that came along with COVID. And this data bears that out, even though it's just the summer data. You would think that would be the area maybe where things would lag, but it didn't. Our kids are awesome.
Great report, thank you.
Well, you also read in the paper that many school districts, because of politics and everything else, have been out for 2 years. They've lost 3 to 5 years of education plus social growth. And thank goodness we live in Texas.
Thank goodness we live in Pasadena. We didn't lose that much.
That's right.
We're not going to have any.
We stayed open in Texas. That's right.
We stayed moving.
Okay, let's move on. Consideration and possible approval of the ongoing subscription fee with Texas State Library and Archives Commission for the 2022-2023 school year in the amount of approximately $14,304.54.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Ms. Fusilier. I'm sorry, Paola. Always want to call you by your middle name.
It's all right. That works.
Maiden name.
That works too.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of the subscription renewal for Brain Pop from September 1, 2022 to August 31st, 2023 in the amount of $127,425.35 from local funds.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Mr. Phelan. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of the interlocal agreement between Pasadena ISD and Region 4 to provide Texas Student Data Systems, TSDS, and PEAMS support services in the amount of $5,750.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Ms. Fusilier. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of the interlocal agreement with the Region 4 Education Service Center, ESC4, for the renewal purchase of OnData Suite software in the amount of $29,595.60.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Ms. Fusilier. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval for the J. Frank Dobie High School Lariats Drill Team to travel to Nashville, Tennessee on February 23rd through 26th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Mr. Phelan. Discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
What day are they going to be performing at the Grand Ole Opry?
It's Lita, Harold, okay.
Do they have a
Great,
schedule?
we have our director.
Yes.
Do you want to come to the microphone? I'm sorry, it's for the record. You can do one of those drill team. Sorry.
Put you in the spotlight here.
Okay. What day do they perform at the Grand Ole Opry?
Yes.
They will perform That first day, Thursday, February 23rd.
And is that in conjunction with something, or are they?
The tour company that we've contracted, they have set it up for us.
Okay.
So they'll get to do that, and then the next day they get to go take dance it's called Millennium. It's kind of famous.
So does family get to go and see and do all that if they want to go?
They would not, if they went, they would be on their own ticket.
But as far as it's a performance, there's perform.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I know you're excited, and I know the girls are as well. So, okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Student achievements, this is for information only. You'll want to read about what one of our Adobe High School FFA students has been up to in student achievements, so be sure and look at that. Moving to the financial section, do I hear a motion on budget amendments?
Also moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kendrick, seconded by Mr. Fernandez. We approve the budget amendments. Any discussion? Pardon?
Those are for July.
Okay, for July 2022, yes.
Do we need to make that motion?
No, Madam President, I think you called the motion for just item 1.
Yeah, yes.
Proceed.
We got 2 items to do. Let's get them
Yeah.
both.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration possible approval of budget amendments for August 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kendrick, seconded by Mr. Fernandez. Discussion?
I just brought Mr. Poppy back up real quick because he gave you a revision, so if you just want to explain that real quick.
Yeah, so this, item 2 is the August final budget amendment. Talking with the auditors, there's a new GASB 87 that talks about leases for like copiers and items like that, which is a separate function. So we had to amend to show function 71 at 1.2 million. So that's page 2 of the stapled packet that I gave. That was 3 pages. And then we included the $5 million transfer to the health fund to reflect in the final budget amendment as well. So those are the 2 changes. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, since this was a change from what was printed, do you accept those changes, Mr. Kendrick?
Yes.
And Mr. Fernandez?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration of possible approval of GASB 54 fund balance resolutions.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Mr. Phelan. Discussion?
You know, this is a popular night for Mr. Poppy, but this is typical. We bring this every year. It's required, of course. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to spend these funds, but if you want to explain it a little better than I just did, Mr. Poppy, the requirements related to this.
Yep, so it's that time of year we kind of get into the accounting world as we close out one budget and as we line everything up and do best practices in preparation for the audit. So GASB 54 is a little over 10 years old, and so you have different levels that you can commit funds or restrict funds. So what GASB 54 does is we're committing, as we've always done, $10 million into capital projects. And then if it's an activity fund, it stays an activity fund. If it's a food service fund, it stays in food service. And then anything assigned will be delegated to the superintendent. And that's based on working with the auditors to line everything up and have a proper presentation of the financials in the audit report. Any questions on GASB 54?
Any questions, discussion on this? Thank you, Mr. Poppy. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of additional funding for PISD medical plan and authorization for superintendent to add additional funds to ensure PISD medical plan ends the fiscal year with a positive balance.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Kendrick, seconded by Mr. Fernandez. Discussion?
So this is kind of a Tony Lopez, Ben Poppy combo here, but I'll do my best and then y'all can correct me where I'm wrong. We have not put additional funds from fund balance since 2019, if I'm correct. And if you'll remember, we've worked really hard, like Ms. Fusilier was asking, to get the best plan that helps the district, but also helps the employee. Because of COVID, I think we were a positive, I guess you would say, if you have to find a positive, was that a lot of people didn't go get their rotator cuff fixed or their elective surgeries or procedures done. That was not the case of this past summer. You saw a lot of catch-up being played. So the fund took a huge hit. You know about our stop-loss insurance, so we had some large claims that are still going to be paid back. So we don't really know where we're going to end. So we're asking you to approve this with the knowledge that it could be a little more, it could be much less. Am I correct in saying that? So I don't know if either of y'all want to add on to that, but again, we have not put additional funds in since 2019, and we've been blessed in 2020 and 2021 to have no fund balance put toward the plan, but we're asking for as much as $5 million or a little more, depending on, we cannot end the year in the negative or the red. We have to end positive.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, is at the end of the day, the plan has to remain at a positive balance, and so there's a lot of moving parts. So that's why we're asking delegation to the superintendent to see where that lands as we see what stop-loss payments come in, and then see it settle. Hopefully it's less than $5 million, but we have been working with Maggie Gallagher to get a good estimate, and then we'll see where we end at the end of the year. And then we can report back to the board the actual amount.
We celebrate those rebates on pharmacies. We celebrate stop-loss insurance. Unfortunately, we do have employees who have severe needs with their self or with their family member. So we, of course, know that that's going to happen. But we want to make sure we look out for the bottom line for the district as well.
Mr. Poppy, you can stay at the mic because you're up next.
Okay.
Any questions about this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. So we're required to discuss the impact of property value change, and this indicator is number 20 on the first report, and it's for information only, but Mr. Poppy, you're going to lead the discussion on this.
Yes. So this will be a brief discussion just talking about property values historically the last 5 years. If you go back to 2017, our total tax roll property was about $11 billion, and then it's increased from in 2018 to $14 billion, and then it's continued to increase to this past year. The total tax roll is just over $19 billion. And so in 2019, when House Bill 3 passed, as well as Senate Bill 2, there was a state-mandated compression, which ties into property values. So as property values go up, the state will compress the maintenance and operations tax rate. So a lot of people think, well, your values are going up, the school district's going to make a lot more money for their budget. But what happens is it just shifts to local, and the state decreases the amount that they submit. So this is required for School First to talk about property values, and it ties right in with budget and tax rate. So, any questions? There's no major improvements or new improvements on the tax roll. It's just all values went up statewide since COVID.
Thank you, Ben. Anybody have any questions? Then we will move on to consider, this was only for information. Next, we'll move to consideration and possible approval of the adoption of the 2022-2023 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kendrick, seconded by Mr. Phelan. Any discussion?
So don't get comfortable yet, Mr. Poppy. So the board, all 7 of you, had a copy of this given to you on May 31st at our budget workshop, and then you received it again, the same copy on July 12th. The only changes would be the things that you're approving here tonight. If you'll remember, we start the budget process very early in the year last year, and everybody asked for everything in the kitchen sink, and of course it comes out to this huge deficit budget, so we start working and prioritizing and going back to our strategic plan and having very in-depth conversations about what we have to do to make students get the resources they need and be successful, as well as staff. And so you can see here, even though this is an estimate, you estimate your revenues, just like you were talking about property values and taxes, you estimate your expenses, okay, but he put a nice little star at the bottom that we have these federal dollars, ESSER dollars out there, where that does not mean we'll end up with a deficit budget, even though this is estimated almost $8 million deficit, because he's going to talk about in just a minute how we're preparing to not fall off that ESSER cliff. So this is the third meeting that we're having to discuss this. It is required that we approve the budget as well as the tax rate at this time of year, and then we move forward and keep you updated throughout the year as the process goes forward and spending those dollars, and of course bringing in revenue as well. So do you want to add to that and just kind of share where we've been this summer working hard on this?
Yeah, just continue to refine the budget, look at it. What you want to do on the basic budget guidelines is you want to estimate conservative revenue and have realistic expenditures, and that's what we've done. So we are proposing a budget deficit. As Dr. Powell alluded to, we will be utilizing the ESSER funds, and we're looking at a strategy to maximize the ESSER funds. The goal is, as ESSER goes away in a year or two, that we will be able to have a glide path instead of an ESSER cliff. So that will be part of the budget strategy going forward as we look at staffing and budget going forward.
Awesome.
The biggest difference from the July 12th workshop was the $500,000 for police and the $308,000 for safety monitors. Any questions?
Well, this resolution, possible approval of this adoption is for the budget. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. So when I look at the state sources, it looks like they decreased the amount because they assumed we were going to have 46,000 students, correct? Do they make up the difference if we have more students at the end?
If we have an increase in students higher than what's estimated in average daily attendance, then the state will increase the amount in what's called settle up, and they will settle it up with a positive amount for us. If we fall below what's estimated from the state, below average daily attendance, then they will settle up and decrease the amount we would get.
Okay, I have a couple more questions.
Okay.
When I was looking at pages 131 through 133, I did mention that I see this consistent 1% decrease in the funding. Can you explain the rationale behind that?
As we see enrollment and average daily attendance decrease, then we need to monitor and what I would say massage the budget to make sure it's in line with enrollment and average daily attendance. So best practice is to just do a small decrease on the department side and not impact the campuses.
That makes a lot of sense. And then I think this is my last question. When I look at the campus funding allocation, there's some sort of formula you use in order to figure out how much funding each school is going to get, correct? Does this formula also include what the TA gave out as the scores? Meaning, if there's a struggling school, do they get more funding?
There's title grants that are incorporated into that. That's not local revenue.
Okay.
Is anybody here on the federal program side? But there's title grants that look at that and then be able to supplement and assist with the 199 budget.
All right, so this would be...
You want to speak to that as far as any additional funding? A lot of that has to do with grants.
Most of it has been with grants. Before
I guess 2 years ago, there was actual federal money that came with the school improvement, but after our schools really were no longer qualifying for school improvement, but were labeled school improvement, they didn't get that funding after that point. But before that, they got money every year that they were a part of school improvement through the federal funds beyond the title money.
Okay. So those are separate from this local funding, right?
Yes.
Okay, this will be additional. All right.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of board resolution adopting a tax rate and maintenance and operations, M&O, of .9953 and a tax rate for interest in sinking, INS, of .3400 for a total tax rate of $1.33.50.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Phelan. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving to operations, consideration and possible approval of an interlocal agreement between Pasadena ISD and Dayton ISD for commercial driver's license third-party testing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Ms. Fusilier. Any discussion?
Just reminding you, board members, you've already approved this before for
Yeah.
districts like LaPorte, Deer Park, Galena Park, so it's just adding Dayton.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of the design services agreement with Solis O'Brien Engineers for the football field sports lighting at 5 high schools project included in the 2022 bond program in the amount of $130,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kendrick, seconded by Mr. Fernandez. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of geotechnical engineering services agreements to Terracon Consultants, Inc. for the Pasadena High School and South Houston High School football fields in the amount of $28,600.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Mr. Phelan. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of geotechnical engineering services agreements to Robba Kistner, Inc. for the Pasadena Memorial High School and Dobie High School football fields in the amount of $21,600.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Phelan.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Fernandez. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Real quick, I have a question. So I see that we're doing different geotechnical. If we lumped them all together, would we get a discount?
I'm looking for Kevin.
There he is.
I know we are trying to use a variety of contractors on this project, so you can answer Mr. Fernandez's question about the discount.
Most of the geotech companies have a set rate for some of their services, so I don't think we really receive much of an economy of scale by grouping them. But last month, we did an RFQ. The board approved a pool of new geotech contractors, so this is our opportunity to use a couple that we haven't used in the past. We figured this is a good project to do that on because it's not a foundation of a building, it's the football field. So we're going to kind of test them out and see what their services are like.
Hopefully they all put their good foot forward.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of geotechnical engineering service agreement to Paradigm Consultants, Inc. for the Sam Rayburn High School football field in the amount of $12,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez. Was that you, Mr. Phelan?
Yes, ma'am.
Seconded by Mr. Phelan. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of allowance expenditure authorization AEA number 02 for the HVAC upgrades Group 1 project in the credit amount of $25,200.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Mr. Phelan. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of allowance expenditure authorization AEA number 41 for the new administration building replacement project in the amount of $215,532.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kendrick, seconded by Mr. Fernandez. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of allowance expenditure AEA number 28 for the New Thompson Intermediate Replacement Project in the credit amount of $4,483.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Phelan, seconded by Mr. Fernandez. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of allowance expenditure authorization AEA number 32 for the New Thompson Intermediate Replacement Project in the amount of $29,252.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Ms. Fusilier. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of allowance expenditure authorization AEA number 028 for the new maintenance operations and warehouse facility project in the credit amount of $5,274.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kendrick, seconded by Mr. Fernandez. Discussion? We like those credit amounts.
Just a little bit more. Maybe next one.
Oh, yeah, I know. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Consideration and possible approval of allowance expenditure authorization AEA number 029 for the new maintenance, operations, and warehouse facility project in the amount of $113,079.22.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Kendrick,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Phelan. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving to construction update, this is for information only, but does anyone have any questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll move to the miscellaneous section. Consideration and possible action to authorize the superintendent to negotiate and execute a memorandum of understanding with agencies and/or entities classified as first responders within Harris County for coordinated and uniform emergency response protocols.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kendrick, seconded by Mr. Phelan. Discussion?
So board members, Kim Ogg had sent us an MOU asking us to sign off by last Monday. I was not comfortable doing that. At that time, the chief had some concerns, as well as some other superintendents that I'd talked to. So we're working through that. Different general counsels at various districts, as well as our own, Jody Kinnemer, are working on those changes. So I'll make sure and send you a copy. However, we wanted to get your permission to enter into that agreement. We know if, God forbid, anything were to happen, agencies are going to come in and want to assist and support and whatever needs we have, just like we have done for others. However, we want to make sure that it's clearly communicated so that there's no misunderstandings about what that would look like. So as that gets finalized, you'll get a copy of it, but this would just give me permission to sign off after you've had an opportunity to review that and us enter into that agreement.
When they come in like that, Dr. Powell, who's in charge?
So that was our problem with the first rendition, I guess you would say. So in that first rendition, they were wanted to take charge of that investigation, the scene, all the communication, and we want to make sure we're getting answers, we have knowledge. We have a very skilled police department, for example, in Pasadena, and we want to make sure that we're partnering with the folks that have the CAD drawings of our school. Pasadena PD has all of that. They're training with our officers. So we just want to make sure there's clear communication among all all the chiefs as well as the school district entity itself. And we think in the end we'll have a product we can all live with. Is that right, Chief? We're working toward that end.
Allocation, Pasadena, we got one chief.
Well, we've got school district chief and we've got the city of Pasadena chief, and they work beautifully together. So that's a nice thing.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Now we're moving to the public comments according to BED Local related to topics not listed on the agenda. And this portion of public comment is for speakers who are addressing topics not listed on the agenda. Ask that all speakers refrain from using profane or vulgar language. Complaints about an individual student and/or employee should seek resolution through the district's grievance process outlined in the applicable Pasadena ISD Board Policy DGBA, FNG, or GF. Along those lines, we ask that speakers respect the privacy rights of others, and in doing so, refrain from naming employees and/or students during the public comment portion of the agenda. Titles may be used instead. Remember, this admonition goes for positive or negative comments. Each person will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Mr. Phelan, will you time keep for us? And Mr. Phelan will be letting you know when you have 1 minute left and then when your time has expired. First, we have Mr. Edward Valdez. Mr. Valdez is going to be speaking about 7:15 a.m. start time. You need to go to the microphone, Mr. Valdez.
I don't know if I would like to say is, I would say thank you very much for being here. I would say I'm the best, I would say, so far, ever since I was in Pasadena High School, and I can speak out for what things that I agree and disagree with, pretty much, and really enjoy participating in any board meetings, especially in this building here. And what else I was trying to say is, especially y'all, really enjoy it. Really enjoy participating and attended as well, along with Miss Rabe, of course. And it's amazing being here. Good being here so far. So yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Ms. Dolby, who will be introducing PEA officers and teacher welcome.
Good evening, President Morgan, board members, Superintendent Powell, and members of the community. My name is Ann Dolby. I am a high school librarian. I am also the current president of Pasadena Educators Association. I wanted to take this opportunity tonight to welcome all Pasadena ISD employees and students back for another great year. I would like to introduce the other board member of Pasadena Educators Association. In attendance tonight is our secretary. Our treasurer is hard at work with her clubs for business professionals. Our vice president is working at a volleyball game right now. All of these ladies do so much for this district, and I thank them all for that. I also wanted to take this opportunity to explain the core values of Pasadena Educators Association. PEA values public education first and foremost. Our vision is a great public school for every student. Our mission is to advocate for education professionals and to unite our members to fulfill the promise of public education to prepare every student to succeed in a diverse and interdependent world. We believe public education is the gateway to opportunity. All students have the human and civil right to a quality public education that develops their potential, independence, and character. We believe public education is vital to building respect for the worth, dignity, and equality of every individual in our diverse society. We believe public education is the cornerstone of our republic. Public education provides individuals with the skills to be involved, informed, and engaged in our democracy. We believe that the expertise and judgment of education professionals are critical to student success. We believe partnerships with parents, families, communities, and other stakeholders are essential to quality public education and student success. To all the cafeteria workers, all the custodians, teachers, paraprofessionals, bus drivers, police officers, coaches, and administrators, thank you from Pasadena Educators Association for all your hard work and dedication to our students. Thank you to President Morgan, board members, Dr. Powell, for all of your hard work and dedication to our students. And thank you all and the community for allowing me to speak tonight. We at Pasadena Educators Association hope this school year is amazing. Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Next is to set the date for our next regular meeting. Suggested date is Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Mr. Phelan. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. We'd like to thank each of you for being here, parents, students, families, guests, staff, etc., all who've contributed to this evening's meeting. There being no further business to come before this board, I declare this meeting adjourned.